All right, welcome everybody to the show. My name is Harry, the mind of Ecubed, and today we have our guest. Well, I'm sorry, no longer a guest. My official co-host, Richard Optimist123 Brown, in the building. Say hello, Richard.
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Nothing much. Official beer game brother right there. Now, this show here, we are reviewing Captain America: The Civil War. It is a special show because 2 years ago, our very first show that we ever did together was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So a little bit of a ceremonial anniversary here for this movie here. But let's just get right into it. Richard, tell the people how you feel about this movie.
I really enjoyed the movie, but it's one of those things. It's like there's so much great about it. Like, I can't say it's perfect. Now, when I say they're like minor flaws, but I mean, like the character development, the relationship between Tony and Steve, and how it's really a battle of ideals, and then it becomes a battle of the way a person perceives each other within a relationship. It's almost kind of like a breakup movie. It's honestly like it's a action adventure breakup movie is really what it comes down to, because it starts going from being literally like a professional dissolution of a relationship to a personal one, and what happens to make that into what it is what makes the movie have so much weight. The amount of characters the movie had in it, to say that it gave everybody a little bit of showtime, and especially kudos to Black Panther. Like, everybody's talking about Spider-Man. Spider-Man's great, don't get me wrong, but Black Panther to me is like the kind of the standout character out of the whole setup, next to, of course, the main two, which is Captain America and Iron Man himself. But I'd have to say, man, I can't. It is definitely in Marvel's top 5. I wouldn't say it's their best, and I have a few. Only thing I really would say I have a problem with the movie was the pacing of it, but action-wise and all those other pieces going from top to bottom, I mean, it hits all the right tick boxes. To be honest with you, this movie felt more like Avengers 2 than Avengers 2 actually did. Like, just in terms of the way that each character was portrayed, how they showcased their moveset, their power set, all of these things together, it just seemed like it was a team movie. Because the first Avengers movie was, how a team gets set up. The second movie, of course, it was kind of like, they got this bad guy and they had to do it because of money. And then this movie is like, okay, well, how a team breaks down. So it'd be interesting to see if, like, you think about the 4 stages of the 4 stages of team building, forming, norming, storming, and performing, or I forgot the exact order of it, but it'll be interesting to see how Avengers 3, quote unquote, and 4 are going to play out. So I definitely have to say I really, really enjoyed it. Like, from front to back, it was a great movie. Just in some of the sequences, it suffered some pacing issues, and then, of course, the only other flaw that the movie has is, I know in some thoughts, the way I look at it is the villain is just kind of, he's there, but I think the purpose of this villain is slightly different from how you would treat most other villains, because technically, if you think about it, he was successful, but it's just that it's nothing like, you won't ever look at this movie and remember, oh, well, the villain was something to really worry about. It's just kind of like the only villain to say that in a movie that I actually remember for something that he did that affected things totally is Loki. And I think that's pretty much the only one that Marvel's got right now. But other than that, man, I have to definitely say it's definitely in Marvel's top 5 for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The villain in this movie was unnecessary. The main antagonist, it really isn't Iron Man or Captain America. It's the idea of them signing that contract to be controlled by that sovereign body to say what they do. Like, the villain is because in a superhero movie, you have to have the ceremonial villain. That's why he exists. But I'm going to play off a lot of things that you said the movie did very well. And that, in fact, was that to have 12 superheroes in the movie and to express each one of them individually in the movie, it did an excellent job. Wish DC could take that and write that down and note it on there. And I really don't have much to say about the movie because you pretty much covered everything else in it, and I just don't want to reiterate it. I just want to do the comparison between the other superhero team-up movie that we had in this one, and just to say that Batman versus Superman, I could care less to ever watch that movie again. I don't think it even make it into my collection because this movie is just that good of a movie. And I see you over there chuckling a little bit. It's just that movie just, to me, I mean, you knew it was going to make money because they advertised it well, but was it worth your dollar to go see? To me, no. I could have stayed at home and caught this on HBO or TNT with 1,000 commercials in it, and I would have been totally satisfied with my Batman versus Superman experience. But this movie, Captain America: The Civil War, I'm so glad that I saw this movie not only in IMAX, but I'm glad that I went to the theater to see this movie, period, because it is a very well-written movie. I feel as though that Marvel and Disney have a team of writers that they have in a secret basement locked downstairs, and they're feeding them, and they have a bathroom there, and they're not letting them out until they finish writing these movies. Right. And whenever they have a garbage script, they're like, no, do better. Because I don't know how you pump out this many good movies.
At some point, one of them's got to suck. Like, one of them has to suck.
If you look at it, like the Avengers 2 is the closest thing you can say to a failure in this era that they've had, and Doctor Strange is another reach out there versus the Guardians of the Galaxy was their original reach. Can we do this? And it worked. And I think Doctor Strange, I look back and I'm like, the only remembrance I have of Doctor Strange in my youth is whenever he was with the Avengers. Does he deserve his own standalone movie? It's like, if the Doctor Strange movie works, what's to stop us from getting a Black Widow and a Hawkeye standalone movie?
Pretty much. And that's going to be the question, because just in terms of how Marvel has played this game. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy honestly was that movie where they were like, if this works, we can now print money.
Yeah.
And that movie worked. Ant-Man was actually really good too. Yeah. And then you have, of course, Avengers 2 came right before Ant-Man. It was like, Avengers 2 was like, yeah, it was good. I mean, and I bought it because it's worth having in the collection, but it's not like I'm dying to watch it again. Ant-Man, I should have bought, to be honest with you. And then you have this movie, and this movie is like, it's not like I'm saying like the movie's without flaws, but I think this movie is the one where it felt like Marvel, like, I don't want to say, I guess it was like there were little things in the movie, and I don't know if we're going into spoilers or not, but there were little things in the movie that when you saw it, you were like, okay. Like, well, they put heart in. It's like there was more. It felt more like a comic book fan wrote that movie or shot that movie. Like the Russo brothers behind it itself. It just felt like they were in the seat. Like, okay, well, what do the fans want to see with this movie? And I think they nailed every piece of it, including even the new character introductions. And everybody had their, and it was like strange because every character, with the exception of maybe one or two, had pretty much some sort of character arc. Like Black Panther had his, Scarlet Witch had hers, Vision had one, even though it's like he's not in there very much, but the times that he's there, it's like it explores the elements of him being a synthetic being. It's like all these characters had some sort of moment or point to where you're like, okay, this event happened and now things have changed to get them to another place. Now, whether or not it's going to play out to be their own solo movie, I don't know.
Let's go ahead and just roll into the spoilers, because there's certain things that I've noticed in the Captain America movie that when you see a certain character, something has to happen to that character. Going back to the very first one, when you saw Bucky, you're like, oh, if you know anything about Captain America, he has to die. And then in this movie, when you see the king of, I can never say that name. Wakanda. When you see the king of Wakanda, you're like, oh, well, this dude has to die.
Right.
That's how the Black Panther comes along. So I do kind of like that whole fact how they try to hold some of the comic book into it. And I learned a long time ago with these comic book movies, you have to take these movies as a separate entity. You can't just think they're going to be true to form to the comic book. And like you said, the Russo brothers were thinking, what would the comic book fans like to see? And I think they're doing a good job, not just the Russo brothers, but the other writers and directors of these movies. They're doing a good job of giving us what we want, because this movie starts off with a great action sequence, and it continues on throughout the whole point. Even when it has to die down and it have to have some type of dialogue, I know they're not going to win any type of Oscars for best dramatic performance in this movie. So I don't even think about like, oh, so and so can't deliver lines properly. But nah, they're actually explaining events and they're explaining ideals that are happening through the whole point. And shout out to Disney and their animation studio, because when they did a young Tony Stark, I'm going to look up as soon as we get done doing this. I'm scouring the internet trying to figure out how do they put his transpose his face onto a younger body.
Because that was, it was weird because when you see that scene, it's like they must have went back and researched old movies of Robert Downey Jr. to put that one sequence in, and to that sequence alone was once I saw that, I was like, okay, something about his parents is going to play into this scene. So but to go back to that, to everything that the only issues I had graphically was there were a couple scenes where with the Falcon, he was a little choppy. There were just some moments where it's okay.
Yeah, his flying sequence, I imagine those were pretty hard to film because he does a lot of flips and turns and spins with his wings. I was my eyes didn't keep up, but it looked like he just teleported.
Right. It's it was a little jarring, but I mean, it's if the worst thing you can say about a movie is a character teleporting, or the flight sequence may be a little jarring at times. It's that's the worst thing to talk about, and the movie's done pretty well. I mean, the one sequence everybody talks about, which is the airport sequence. I like that sequence a lot. And, because there was a whole bunch of stuff going on. But to me personally, I think my favorite action sequence was the final one, the very end action sequence between.
Let me pause you there because I want to talk about that airport sequence.
Okay, go ahead.
That airport sequence, outside of the fighting of all 12 of the, I don't know what to call them, heroes or anti-heroes or the conflict going on right there. Outside of that, they introduced something that I've been dying in Spider-Man forever, and that's his wit and humor that he has the whole time when they fight, when he's fighting, and how the Falcon recognized it. It's usually there's not that much talking when you're fighting. He's like, oh, okay, well, I'll get back to it. I was thinking, finally, yes, Spider-Man is actually fighting and he's throwing quips out there at the same time. That's what he's known for doing in the movie. And thank you for not fully taking off his mask either in the movie, because that's one thing that's always been a gripe of mine with the Spider-Man movies, is that he was always so quick to throw off his mask because Hollywood wants you to see the beauty of their actor that they're paying all this money to. So why cover his face up with a mask? But anybody who's read a Spider-Man comic book has known one of the struggles that he's had is keeping his identity secret, and they even addressed that in the movie when he's sitting down talking with Tony Stark. Now, again, Marissa Tomei, I mean, kudos to her. I don't know how much a pay cut she took to take the part of Aunt May, but she understands the fact that you got a Spider-Man movie coming, and probably she can get into the Avengers too. So I just want to give a quick shout out to her for realizing that getting onto a franchise is a smart thing.
Right.
And
hot Aunt May.
Yeah, hot Aunt May. Yeah, that was kind of new. Right. And also, how they did poor James Rhodey, the War Machine. First of all, shout out to they actually made the War Machine not look like the Puerto Rican flag. So that was kind of nice that they changed the suit back to the original outfit.
They did it in Avengers too. And I actually really, from Iron Man 2 to this movie, I actually really like the more streamlined version that was the Iron Patriot in Iron Man 3. I like this version of the suit best. The only thing about War Machine is that for me, it's I'm glad they gave him something to do, but it still always seems like he always comes up short. It's I've never come out of an Avengers movie except for Iron Man 2, and that was only because he was shooting stuff. Yeah. But beyond that, it's I never ever came out of the movie. In Avengers 2, for example, he was flying around, the Vision comes along and just tears that robot apart, and he's okay, what? And then it's the last time you see him. And in this movie, he definitely has scenes, but it's kind of I don't know, I never get enough to say that that is Iron Man's like sidekick, I never got. I don't have that feeling the same way like Bucky is to Captain America, or how Sam is, the Falcon is to Captain America. I don't have that same feeling. It's like, yeah, he's there, but he's not like in it. Like, I mean, in this movie, they did a little better job at it, but I remember one time they were talking about giving War Machine his own solo movie, and I just don't think. I think it's too late to do that now, especially with the fact. Let's be honest here, Black Panther's on the scene, and Black Panther's kicking all types of ass. So I mean, it's like there'd be too many black superheroes. They might be like, I think Black Panther is pretty much like the epitome of all black superheroes, because he's like an African king that wears a completely black cat suit. I mean, it's just, I don't know, man. It's like, I think War Machine isn't going. I'd love to see it happen, but I don't think it's going to. But I mean, I'm glad that they threw him in there, and it was like, I was expecting, honestly, for that to have been, and it's like, the thing about the trailers is that I expected like War Machine's injury to be the thing that actually catapults Tony Stark into the level of, I have to now stop Steve, or otherwise things are going to go. But no, that wasn't it. Like, that was the shocking thing about it when I was going to movies like that. I thought that was going to be the thing, and it was even funnier when he actually, like, when Falcon tried to rescue him, and then he's like, man, I'm sorry. And then Tony Stark just blasted him with the repulsor like it's nothing. I mean, I'm trying to think, like, the moment, I guess the moment for me that stuck out from that action sequence is the way like everybody's powers played off of everybody. It wasn't like, it never seemed like, except for with Scarlet Witch. The Scarlet Witch was overpowered as hell. but
yeah, there's no doubt about that. I was thinking the same thing too. Like, I don't remember the Scarlet Witch being this awesome.
But I mean, it was cool.
Yeah.
I ain't complaining. It's just, it's like, okay, all right. I see what you're doing there. So I mean,
also, I hate to cut you off. I also like how they finally showed that Ant-Man can also go both ways with this. That was pretty damn awesome, because I thought originally he was Giant Man and then he reversed the suit and became Ant-Man. That's the way I remember it. But now they did it obviously the opposite way. So shout out to Ant-Man for now becoming Giant Man.
Hey, it was good, man. Like that whole sequence is just a matter of, how they choreographed everything. And I'm glad that, I don't know if you noticed this, but throughout the movie, they started out with a whole lot of shaky cam, and then they kind of steadied things out as the movie went along. Because like the first couple of sequences, like, every time someone got punched, it's like the whole camera shaked. And then after a while, they kind of let the movie kind of breathe a little bit, where you could see like the wide open shots. And
yeah. I don't know. Well, what format did you see the movie in?
I saw it like, I guess, I don't want to say regular format, because there's a RPX here, but the theater's not as good as the one I go to.
Okay. Yeah, because like when I went to the airport scene and the camera spanned out the entire screen of IMAX, I was like, whoa, okay, something's getting ready to go down, because they introduced that they shot a sequence with the IMAX camera. So I was thinking, okay, yeah, this is it. But yeah, you definitely noticed that cinematography got a lot smoother when it got to the airport, because even from the opening chase scene to them running through the streets, chasing down Bucky, it was all a little bit shaky, but nothing too annoying. And then all of a sudden it opened up and it was all smooth and everything. And the choreography of that sequence was amazing. And then even when it shifted on to when it went to the that Siberian jail or wherever they were keeping the other 4 people, that part right there was pretty hot, pretty awesome. And I was thinking about with other action movies, and you go see them, and like how many times do you get 4 to 5 good action sequence in a movie?
Like that's something you can't deny that. Like there was not an action sequence. The thing people have to realize about action sequences is that you can't just have stuff blowing up. And granted, I'm a Transformers fan, like the next stuff, but the thing about, like, they could look really cool, but if there aren't any stakes involved, it makes things different. Whereas, like, for example, the airport sequence, it's like, okay, Captain America and his crew are trying to get out of there to do something, and yet Tony's trying to stop them. In order for them to succeed, it's like you care about what happens. it's like even in the final action sequence where it's like it finally comes down to Captain America and the Winter Soldier versus Iron Man. Like you care about, even though you can't say like which sides you're on, but you care about the end result of what actually happens. If you watch some other movies, like, yeah, it look cool and it's real pretty blowing up, but at the end of the day, what you want to see is, that action sequence being a place to where the story actually moves forward. And all of the action sequences, the story moved forward. It wasn't like, well, this is just cool to sit here and we're just going to go ahead and do it. It felt like there was something actually going on that actually made the plot move. And that's something you can't deny that. Like this movie as a summer action film, I mean, it had it. Like it's there,
Yeah. So before we move on to our rankings, I want to revisit a topic that we had a couple of years ago, and my dreams and ambitions that you crushed, Richard, about ever seeing Iron Spidey in a movie. How close are we to seeing Iron Spidey now?
I don't think we're going to, not for a while. Because I mean, if Iron Spidey would have happened, I think it would have been something that would have been a little more apparent, or kind of would have been a nod thrown in there. But I don't think we'll see it. And let me back up. The only I think we'll see it is it'll be like probably after. It'll probably get closer towards the end of like this phase, not this phase, but the next phase of Marvel movies. Like you'll probably see Iron Spidey then, but now, nah. People need to see the original. How do you put it? People need to see the original Spider-Man a little more. And everyone says that this is the greatest interpretation of Spider-Man. I think to say it's the best one we've seen so far, I think that's probably a stretch. And the only reason why I say that is because you're talking about roughly 8 to 10 minutes of screen time versus 6 hours of screen time. So it's like we don't know, because in all honesty, quipping and all that other stuff, that could be cool for a little while, but that might become real old, and depending on who's writing it. I have full confidence in Disney and Marvel and their team to make it happen correctly. But I think I think what we got is probably, it's a good teaser of what's to come. I can't actually say that, oh yeah, Tom Holland is the Spider-Man that we've all been waiting for. I can't say that because, let's be honest here, I mean, at the time, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man 2 is still one of the best comic movies that's ever come out. Like, it still is.
True,
I mean, you can't deny that. You can't deny that. And I mean, that was almost 10 years ago. And then you got the Amazing Spider-Man that we're just not going to talk about, but there were things in there that were actually okay. There were things in there. Now, not movie, but things. So I don't know. It's like, I think the only reason why Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, or Sam Raimi's Spider-Man takes such a hit is because, and let's be honest with you, it faltered in Spider-Man 3. If Spider-Man 3 was actually good, you probably wouldn't care so much. It's just the fact that Spider-Man 3 was terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it's just that's all it was. It had nothing. It's not. I mean, I hate to say it's like it's not their fault, but it's just what it is. I mean, it just hurt.
So go ahead, let the people know. Give your ranking on this movie here.
All right, I'm gonna kind of spell it. The reason why I want to spell this first. All right, so I thought the movie was great. There were so many things in the movie that I definitely appreciated. The only thing I had a problem with was the pacing of it, as far as when they got to some of those necessary exposition points, because they just couldn't figure out a way how to like showcase it properly, I guess. Action was spot on. The things that they did in the movie that made you realize that someone had comic book love, especially, and this is the one moment where I actually shed like a man tear in the theater, was when Captain America and Iron Man were fighting, and then they went ahead and they did that slow, almost freeze frame that's straight out of the cover from Civil War, like that.
Yeah, with the shield and the repulsor blast coming together. Yeah,
I was like, oh man, so that was the moment where it's like I got goosebumps when I saw it, because it just was like, oh, this is just it's awesome. But beyond that, man, it's like the thing I have to respect about the Captain America franchise. With the I didn't really care for the first one, but that was a totally different director. But but to be honest with you, to be fair, Captain America, in terms of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has pretty much improved, or at least stayed on the same general level as all the other movies. Let's be honest. Iron Man 1 was great, 2 was 3 was okay. It was good, but it was not the Iron Man movie I wanted. Thor, the first one was good. I really liked the first Thor movie. The second one was okay, and then Avengers. Even then, it's like the first Avengers movie was awesome. Second one was good. It's just not anything close to the first one. And then of course you have the other Marvel movies sprinkled through there, but this just only have one of them. But Captain America right now is probably, it's weird to think about it this way, but Captain America right now is probably the strongest property that Marvel has come out with. So if I was going to grade it, the only thing I would say is I had an issue with the pacing going into like the third act, but I would have to say I'd give it. It was like I was struggling between B+ and A-. But I gotta be honest with you, man. They did so many things right to where you can't say a negative about it. Like you just want to overlook it. So I'm gonna have to say an A- for sure.
All right, yeah, no doubt the movie was excellent, and I really can't say anything functionally was wrong with the movie and break it down to say that if you take this element out, it's a good movie. And like you said, the pacing of the movie probably went a little long. And this movie, I always like to compare movies to another movie and try to keep it apples to apples. So The Dark Knight comes to mind when thinking about this movie, because The Dark Knight was almost 3 hours long. I think it's 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
In this movie itself, it seemed like it ran a little long, and you felt that 2 hours and a half that this movie was.
I would agree.
So, but in the same respect, it's that like the parts where it dragged a little bit, it pepped you right back up with some great action coming along with it. So I'm with you. I waffled between giving this movie a B+ and an A. I just went back on the B+ side because of the year this movie came out. Deadpool to me was like the perfect embodiment of a superhero movie. Had Deadpool come out after this movie would definitely be an A, and then Deadpool might get around that B+, A- ranking. But since it's the other way around, I still have to give my A out to Deadpool and give this movie the B+. But I don't want nobody to eat me alive for that, okay? But I still think this is a great movie. Everybody should go watch it. It's worthy of your money. It's just that there's another movie out right now that gets the A ranking from me, and this movie just happened to come out after it. This movie had to be better than Deadpool, and since you pretty much, I mean, Deadpool was awesome. I'm sorry.
Right, it was.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to say that this movie was better than Deadpool. That's all I'm saying. That both movies are good. This movie's not just as good as Deadpool. And Batman vs Superman is horrible. Just want to throw that out there.
You know what? Oh yeah, I know we didn't talk about Batman vs Superman, but it's weird because if you think about it, the two movies almost have very similar, not plot structures, but they have very similar issues where it's the whole should superheroes be regulated? Like their plots are almost the same, but when you break it down, it's like one movie. It's almost like when you watch a Batman versus Superman, it's like the biggest problem that movie had is that they tried to rush everything. They tried to make it where you had to immediately know what was going on, and it didn't really seem like they were really trying to, it's like they were keeping you engaged with exposition, but not keeping you engaged with things that were going on. So when you're watching, you're like, okay, well, I mean, yeah, thank you for talking to me about it, but I want to see how this character development actually happened. Marvel's advantage, to be honest with you, the fact that they've had almost 10 years to do it. You know, if you look at the way Tony Stark is from Iron Man 1 and what gets him to the point that he is now, and the same thing for Captain America from the first movie all the way to the point he is now, it's like you can understand it, but you have like roughly between the two of them 6 movies to play off of. You know, Batman v Superman, you got one. You know, I thought Man of Steel was okay.
I like Man of Steel.
You know, I was like, yeah, okay, I could get down with this. So when Batman v Superman was announced, I was like, okay, well, it should be all right. And it was just, to me, I thought it was just okay. But when you get to it, it's just you're watching, you're like, yeah, well, it's it's cool that you're telling me all this stuff, but I don't have that same level of backstory as I do with all these Marvel movies. And that's, I think DC, honestly, I know they're trying to catch up to Marvel, but let's be honest, they don't have to. Like, they're honestly, there's not a need to have to play this, introduce the whole team movie aspect of it. They could have literally just fired off a solo Batman movie, have the two of them kind of clash, or even cut the main premise of Batman v Superman in half and disregarded Doomsday, and they'd have been fine. But Avengers did it, not Avengers, I call this an Avengers movie, because to me it still feels like one. But this movie honestly has everything you need, and it's building on top of all the other stuff that's already been there, which is what has its advantage. So yeah, still I have to say I give it an A. I said A minus, but I'm just gonna say crap. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna give it an A.
All right. So we'll be back again for X-Men Apocalypse, May 20th.
Oh, when does that come out?
May 20th, I believe, is the Friday it gets released. So we should have a show set up for the 22nd.
Okay.
So that's the next big one to come out. I mean, the bar's been set pretty high this year. So this movie, I mean, the X-Men movie had a huge reset for me that made me say, wow, finally, X-Men movies are actually good. So,
I hate to say, man, I honestly, you know how like Sony did this thing with Marvel for Spider-Man? I don't think it's going to happen with X-Men, though. I think what'll happen is they'll give back Fantastic Four. I think they'll give them that. They're just going to give them that. And here's why I say that, man, is because think about it. Let's face it. Thanos is the big bad right now, right? Who's bigger than Thanos? Like, who could be? Right.
Apocalypse, or the person who eats the planets. I forgot his name. Galactus. Yeah.
Which is part of the Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that Marvel's gonna then be like, hey, let's just get this back because you keep failing at it. Let's just come on. Let's have this back. Let us show you how to do it, and then they'll go ahead and they'll make a Fantastic Four movie that'll be awesome. And then the Thing and the Hulk can fight once, and then it'll just be great. And then Galactus will show up in like Avengers 7 or something like that, and it'll all be good.
So here's the one thing that I have to say about the X-Men Apocalypse movie that I read: that Storm, Angel, Magneto, and Psylocke are going to be the Four Horsemen.
Okay.
I'm kind of hoping that's not true.
That's you look at the trailer until that's true.
Storm and Magneto were never a horseman.
Yeah, but hey, it's.
I was never hoping Mr. Sinister would be there because he was a horseman.
Remember what you just said. You were like, hey, comic book movies are on a whole nother plane of existence, so we have to treat it that way. So when we're looking at these movies, like, I don't want to walk into, and that was another thing about this movie, is that I expected somebody to die and nobody did. And I was just like, oh, I wanted somebody to go. I didn't care who. I just wanted somebody to go.
Well, okay, I hate to be a spoiler, but when they fight Thanos, a lot of them do die.
That's true, but that's not the same. It's not the same. Like, I'm talking about like, I was expecting like Captain America to die and then he'll come back in like Infinity War and like wield Thor's hammer and knock Thanos out or something. Like that's what I was thinking, but apparently it's not going to happen. But maybe in Infinity War Part 1, everybody does, or somebody does. But I don't know, man. Like this X-Men, I'm happy to see what's happened with it because Days of Future Past, I thought First Class was better than Future Past, to be honest with you. But I'm happy to see that. I think Fox is taking a page out of Marvel's book to understand what really needs to happen. And not gonna lie to you, man, that last trailer for, I don't know if you saw the most recent one where it actually showed Wolverine's claws. Yeah. I was like, oh, I ain't gonna lie, man, I actually got a little giddy, man. I was like, okay, I'm ready for this now. So
yeah, well, you kind of knew because when Apocalypse, in the comic book, air quotes, in the comic book, when Apocalypse releases the virus to kill all the humans, Cable comes and throws Wolverine into it, and that's how they get the serum to cure everybody because he has the healing factor. So, right. Spoiler.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. It's just, but to see, I guess people want Wolverine, and to see that, I think what they know is they know the property and they know what does well. So it'd be cool to see how they finish this up, and then of course Old Man Logan story. If they do that one, I'll be happy to see it.
Oh, he dies then.
But that's the way you send Hugh Jackman out. Like,
Yeah.
that's the way you send him out.
Okay.
And and technically they could, like, it could be like a quote unquote a younger Wolverine, since this new universe is set in the 80s. So, they could CG him up or something. I don't know. Like they do a Robert Downey Jr. like they did in the last movie,
All right. Well, as always, I enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back for X-Men Apocalypse. Until then, stay breezy.